This guy, his name is Michael A. Aquino. He is a Lieutenant Colonel, Psychological Operations, 1st Special Forces Regiment of the U.S. Army, retired. And this guy was all up in it. He's an Army officer branch for psychological operations. His additional branch qualifications include armor, civil affairs, military intelligence, special forces. He's done additional skill identifiers include foreign area officer, psychological operations, special forces, defense attaché, strategic intelligence, force development, operations and training officer for. He's a psychological operation. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a very long list, as you can see here, of things that this man has done having to do with the psychological operations. And what he has also done is he wrote this paper, From PSYOP to MindWar, The Psychology of Victory.
This is a paper that got leaked, and there was a whole kind of firestorm around it, and they covered their tracks. It became a lot more controversial when it came out that this Aquino guy was a former member of the Church of Satan and now leading the Temple of Set.
I was getting ready to mention that.
Did I jump the gun?
You jumped it just a little bit, but I will go ahead and go that now. This guy didn't just do all the things that I mentioned to you about him being a psychological operations officer,
a thoroughly extensive military career.
He was a very long military career for a very long time. He also founded the Temple of Set in June 1975, which is supposed to be... he was a member of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, but that wasn't, I guess, hardcore enough for him, so he left and founded his own Temple of Set church. So I really won't get into this much more than that. I don't like to dwell on these kinds of things at all, personally.
Well, when you talk about leaders of the New World Order being into the occult and so forth, a lot of them are partially or not at all admitted. This guy's definitely out in the open, fully admitted.
He's totally proud of it. And so, like I said, I don't want to give any more power to this. It doesn't deserve it. But this is a person who was very much at the forefront of psychological operations and development of techniques in our military. And he's also the founder of a satanic church. So there you go for that. He wrote this MindWar document, which did get leaked. And I just want to read a couple of things out of this because I think it's important for you to understand. He says, psychotronic research is in its infancy, but the U.S. Army already possesses an operational weapon system designed to do what LTC Alexander would like ESP to do, except that this weapon system uses existing communications media, and it seeks to map the minds of neutral and enemy individuals and then change them in accordance with U.S. national interests. It does this on a wide scale, embracing military units, regions, nations, and blocks. In its present form, it is called Psychological Operations, or PSYOP.
He outright says they're about to declare war on all populations, both the U.S. population and any enemy populations, and that is the whole point, to use this paradigm of mind war to convince all parties, friendly, neutral, enemy, that this entity will win the war.
Yes, and this again is called mind war. And so he says he doesn't want to call this psychological operations. This should be rightfully called mind war. And he says that mind war must reach out to friends, enemies, and neutrals alike across the globe, neither through primitive battlefield leaflets and loudspeakers of PSYOP, nor the weak, imprecise, and narrow efforts of psychotronics, but through the media possessed by the United States, which have the capabilities to reach virtually all people on the face of the earth. And he's talking about electronic media, television, and radio, and then of course later now we have computer communications. State-of-the-art developments, he says, in satellite communication, video recording techniques, and laser and optical transmission of broadcasts make possible a penetration of the minds of the world such as would have been inconceivable just a few years ago. And just as an aside, if you're familiar with the leaked Project Bluebeam, that ties into this too. I won't say much more on that, but
this
you can look that up for
far-reaching
yourself.
document, but they very clearly talk about an information-based psychological war through the media to all populations.
Yes, through the world. And once again, we're seeing this same thread that we've seen before, this same argument. Like the sword of Excalibur, we have the courage and integrity to enhance civilization with it. If we do not accept it, we relinquish our ability to inspire foreign cultures with our morality. So it's that argument that if we don't do something, someone else will. We have to do something. We have to inspire foreign cultures with our morality. By the way, coming from a guy who started a satanic church. Anyway, if they then desire moralities unsatisfactory to us, we have no choice but to fight them on a more brutish level. Mind war must target all participants. If it is to be effective, it must not only weaken the enemy, it must strengthen the United States. It strengthens the United States by denying enemy propaganda access to our people and by explaining and emphasizing to our people the rationale for our national interest in a specific war. And then he goes on to say, under existing United States law, PSYOP units may not target American citizens. Today we have U.S. repeals propaganda ban spreads government-made news to Americans.